Hi folks, here's another episode for the FAQ section possibly. Maybe I should mark these specially. I got two questions which sort of seem unrelated, but maybe they're related recently. And one was about whether it's okay for somebody who's trying to practice Zen to also be into science fiction. Guess where my answer is for that one. And the other one was about the use of psychological drugs, psychiatric medication, and how that relates to Zen. So in order to answer this question, I'm going to take a slightly circuitous route and read you something from this. This is a book called Dogen's Formative Years in China, and it is very hard to find these days. I think Amazon has it listed for $1 bazillion or something. I got it for $30 at a place up in San Francisco, Green Apple Books, a few years ago. So try your local bookstore. Sometimes they're better than Amazon. This is not part of Shobo Genzo, but it's something Dogen wrote separate from that about his travels in China and the advice that he got from his teacher, Tendo Nyojo. Tendo Nyojo is how they pronounce it in Japanese, and that's the way I learned the guy's name. But in Chinese, it's pronounced something more like Tiantong Ryujing, and the reason that it's so different is really hard to explain, but just trust me, it's two different names. Or it's the same name with two different pronunciation. So in this little piece of writing about his life in China and advice he'd gotten from Tendo Nyojo, he gives a list of things that Tendo Nyojo says are things you must do, or that he thought Dogen ought to do to have a good Zen practice. And I'm going to read them all to you. And just listen and see what you think. You must not have prolonged illness. You must not travel afar. You must not indulge in excessive recitation. You must not be carried away by arguments. You must not overwork. You must not eat the 5 bitter seasonings. You must not eat meat. You must not take milk, honey, and the like in excessive amounts. You must not drink wine. You must not partake of unclean food. You must not watch dances or listen to songs. You must not see dancing girls. You must not see mutilated bodies. You must not pay attention to such debased affairs as sensual indulgence between man and woman. You must not be friendly with rulers and ministers. You must not devour raw, unripe things. You must not wear soiled clothes. You must not see a slaughterhouse. You must not take rotten wild tea or cold medicine as they do at Tiantai Mountain. Do not eat any mulberry fruit. Do not pay attention to greedy affairs. Do not drink milk, mead, and the like in excess, which I think he just said. Isn't that interesting? Do not be intimate with eunuchs, hermaphrodites, and the like. Do not partake of dried plums and other dried fruits. Do not devour longans, lychee nuts, or olives. Do not eat too much sugar, whether plain or candied. Do not wear thick quilted cotton clothes, but instead simple cotton material. Do not partake of military food. Do not go to hear clamoring and deafening noise or to see herds of pigs and sheep. Do not go to see large fish, the ocean, bad pictures, hunchbacks, and the like. You must always watch green mountains and water in a deep gorge. Illuminate the mind only through the ancient teachings and read sutras that contain complete meaning. You ragged monks who sit in meditation to pursue the way, you ought to keep your feet washed at all times. When your body and mind are irritated, you should recite unswervingly the preface to the Bodhisattva precepts. So that's an interesting list, isn't it? It's kind of a bunch of weird things. And I believe I did an essay about this list, or a chapter about it, in my book, Sit Down and Shut Up, but I'd have to go look at it to be sure, but I'm kind of remembering that I did. As for the matter of psychiatric drugs, the line in here that goes, you must not take rotten wild tea or cold medicine as they do at Tiantai Mountain, I believe I have this kind of vague, weird memory of seeing a different version of this in which that was expressed as do not take medicines prescribed for mental conditions or something like that. I think maybe that version was taking a little bit of a liberty with this, was it raw tea and rotten cold medicine or something? I don't remember. The book closed and I can't find it. But anyway, I think that was trying to modernize that and make it, you'd kind of give an explanation for it. So perhaps these rotten teas and cold medicine were something that was used by these monks for purposes of fixing mental agitation or something like that. And he says, don't do it. My take on sort of modern psychiatrically prescribed medicine is I know some people who just they can't get through life at all without their lithium or whatever it is that they're taking, some kind of antidepressants or whatever. And I've seen these people when they go off their medication, and it's kind of a nightmare. So I would not ever say, if you're into Zen, don't take psychiatric medicine. Somebody's going to excerpt that wrong and make it seem like I said what I didn't say. But you folks will know that I'm saying that's not advice I would give. I think some people have given that advice before, but I think that's bad advice. I think sometimes these things are necessary, but I would imagine that they would always kind of get in the way of practice, in that you'd be in a slightly altered mindset when doing the practice. But if that's what's necessary to get practice done, then that's what's necessary. And maybe you can find a way to kind of wean yourself off of those over a period of time. But I wouldn't just dump all the meds and then try to do it all with Zazen, because that doesn't seem like a good idea to me. As far as the science fiction thing is concerned, if you take Dogen's advice literally, or Tendo Nyojo's advice to Dogen literally, I think most of the forms of entertainment that we indulge ourselves in these days would be included in some category like that. I mean, obviously they didn't have YouTube videos then, but I would imagine if Tendo Nyojo saw what YouTube was, he would say, do not watch YouTube videos. And, he'd probably say, don't watch Ultra Q, and don't read Flying Saucer's Serious Business. And he'd probably tell you, you get rid of your Hulu account and your Netflix account and all that. My take on that is that when I have voluntarily gone to places where you can't get your cool sci-fi books or your YouTube or your Netflix and all that, for example, going to Tassajara for a while or going on a retreat like we do at Mount Baldy and such, there is definitely a big difference when you get rid of all that stuff. There's a huge difference, and the mind becomes much, much clearer. So I would say that if that's the kind of practice you want to do and you want to go full scale and full on with it, then probably it's a good idea to give up all that stuff. But if you'll notice, my own example is I haven't given up all that stuff. And it's gone okay. My suspicion is that if I did get rid of all this stuff and never indulged in it, never watched another YouTube video, never watched Netflix again, got rid of all my DVDs, etc., I would have a clearer, purer sort of Zen practice. And that would be better. But it's not what I do. And I don't think that you're necessarily ruining your Zen practice by continuing to have a foot in with this sort of stuff, continuing to indulge in this sort of thing. But realize that you are necessarily taking it down a level by indulging in that sort of stuff. So it's kind of up to you. But again, don't worry that one look at a science fiction book or one log on to Netflix is going to destroy your whole Zen practice, so you better not do it anymore. No, that's not what happens. It's just a matter of if you want a really, really strong, really, really pure practice, and that's what Dogen was asking Tendo Nyojo about. He wasn't asking about a sort of ordinary level of Zen practice. He's like saying, I want to do this full on. And that was the advice that Tendo Nyojo gave him. So there you go. That's the answer? I don't know if that's an answer. The answer is stay on your meds. Maybe see if you can wean off of them. Maybe. But basically stay on them. And as far as science fiction, enjoy what you enjoy and realize that it has that effect on you. So there you go. And if you want to have an effect on me, Patreon links and PayPal links are below this video telling you how to donate to me. That's how I make my money. That's how I make my living. Somebody the other day was of the apparent belief that I'm making loads of money on this stuff. And she should see the royalty check that I got just recently. I think it was less than $2,000 for 6 months sales of 7 books. Adds up to about $1,800 or something. So really it's the PayPal and Patreon donations that are keeping me able to buy socks and underwear. And thank you very much for that. And we'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.